When you go to a sleepover, there is only one rule that you must follow no matter what. Never fall asleep first. If you don't follow this rule, there's no guarantee what will happen to you. Because I almost died at a sleepover one time after falling asleep first, and I already know what you're thinking. Tyler, you're clearly lying. Because for that to have actually happened, it would mean you got invited somewhere, and we all know that wouldn't happen. Although it may be hard to believe, yes, I did have friends when I was younger. Liar! I mean, I don't now, but I used to. So anyways, how did I almost die at a sleepover? Well, when I was younger, I had a friend whose parents owned a cabin in the woods. Yeah, you could probably see where this is going already. But me and everyone else in our friend group would constantly beg him to have a sleepover at it. This was like our friend group's dream. Every day at school, we were begging him to let us use that house to sleep over at. But he would always say no because he was that type of person that never wanted anyone to go inside his house. Like up to that point, no one in our friend group had ever been inside his normal house yet, and he made sure to keep it that way. Like one time, he rolled his ankle really badly to the point where he couldn't walk, so I took him home. And when we got there, I was like, here, let me help you get inside your house. But he was so scared of any of his friends going inside that he literally just hopped from my car to the front door.
What?
So if he would go this far just to make sure none of us went inside his house, there was no chance he was ever gonna let us sleep over at his cabin in the woods, right? Well, that's what we all used to think too, until one random day, we're bugging him like usual, begging him to sleep over. But for some reason, on this day when we asked him, he said, yeah, let's do it. When he said that, our whole friend group collectively just thought that he was joking. So we're all kind of laughing about it, but he wasn't. So after a little bit, we were like,
you serious?
and he says, yeah, I'll ask my parents when it's a good weekend to go and then we can make it happen. So we're all celebrating because we thought this was gonna be the best night of our lives. But there was something off about it. Because when he was saying we could stay at the cabin, he was really giggly for some reason. And he was normally a pretty stoic dude, so for him to be acting like this was a little bit weird. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it because I was just super excited that we were gonna get to use his house. But knowing what I know now, I should have seen from the start that he didn't randomly just switch up and let us use his house for no reason. No. He was planning to do something big at the sleepover. So a couple weeks pass and eventually his parents tell us that we can use the cabin that upcoming weekend and everyone drops the plans they had. Oh, you have a wedding to go to? Drop it. You were going on a first date with a girl this weekend? Not anymore. Like we were all going to make it to this sleepover no matter what. I would have missed the birth of my firstborn child to go to this. Matter of fact, I would have missed my own birth to go to this. So we're hyped. The whole week of school flies by because all any of us could think about was getting to that cabin. And we had it all planned out. On Friday after school, we would all get picked up in one car and drive to the cabin. So that's what happened. It felt like that scene in the Hangover movie where they're driving to Vegas knowing that they're about to have the best weekend of their lives. But just like that movie, nothing went like we thought it would. Because none of us had ever been to that cabin before. We just heard about it and saw pictures that he posted. So we didn't know exactly what to expect. But as we're driving to it, the area around it started to get really weird. Like it was super isolated. There was a couple gas stations and one grocery store in the town it was in, and that was it. So this kind of sketched us out because of how few people were there. But at the same time, my friends were like, they loved how there was no one else in the area because it kind of made it spooky, but in like a fun way. That's how they felt, not me though. So I was freaking out, but everyone else in the group was acting like it was super cool. And I couldn't be the only one to act all scared, so I pretended to be excited as well. By the way, something I haven't mentioned yet is during this whole ride, my friend whose parents owned the house was acting strange again. Just as he was on the day he told us we could do the sleepover originally, he was giggling a bunch again and just had that look on his face like he was up to no good. And none of my other friends really seemed to notice, or at least they just didn't care, but I'm the type of person that overanalyzes everything. I just pay way more attention to random useless things than most people do. So I kept seeing how different my friend was acting and I was wondering why he was being like this. But then we got to the house and all my worries went away because it was awesome. 2-story house with a pool table, ping pong, movie room. And the best part was when you went into the backyard, the lake was only a few steps away. Being in a house that nice got me so motivated to become rich that I literally looked up how to get rich quick. But then the first result to pop up was get a job. And I was like, all right, I give up. Like that's just asking too much out of me. But anyways, we're all getting settled into the house, exploring the area, thinking about how legendary of a night this is gonna be. So we just start doing normal things that guys do during sleepovers. Playing video games, eating a bunch of food, contacting the dead, just the normal boys sleepover stuff. So it gets to about 1 a.m. and everyone is still wide awake because we all made a pact that we were gonna stay up the whole night because this was like a once in a lifetime sleepover. So we didn't want to just waste it by sleeping the whole time. But unfortunately, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to stay up the whole night because I've been to plenty of sleepovers in the past where I tried to pull an all-nighter and I just cannot do it. And it wasn't because I didn't try. Like my friends and I would go to extreme lengths just to try to get me to stay up. I remember one sleepover I went to, I drank 2 Red Bulls at 2 a.m. and my friends literally attached chip clips to my eyes to keep them open.
What the heck?
But by 2:30 a.m., I was already knocked out. One of my friends even splashed a bucket of ice cold water on my face when he saw me dozing off, and that woke me up for about 2 seconds. I didn't even bother drying off. Just fell back asleep while wet. So I kind of knew it was inevitable that I was gonna be the first one to fall asleep this time too. But this terrified me because for anyone who has ever been to a boys' sleepover, you know that falling asleep first is playing a risky game. Because if you are that first one to fall asleep, let's just say there's no guarantees you're gonna wake up in the morning with all your limbs still attached to you. You fall asleep first, then all of a sudden, you wake up the next morning and your face is a little bit itchy. So you go look in the mirror and bam, both your ears are missing. Like there are no limits to what might happen when you fall asleep first at a boys' sleepover. And like I said, I can never stay up the whole night. So there have been numerous times where I was the first one to fall asleep and I suffer the consequences of it in the morning. But I knew this sleepover would be different because this was a sleepover we had all been dreaming about for years. So falling asleep first meant risking my life. But despite my best efforts to stay up, around 2:45 a.m., I fell asleep. But this is where it gets terrifying because the next thing I know, I wake up. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see anything. It was like I was just laying down in a void. So at first, I thought I was dreaming because I fell asleep on my back that night. And I've said before that I will never try to fall asleep on my back if I can control it for one reason. And it's because I get sleep paralysis when I do that. For those of you who aren't too familiar with what sleep paralysis is, it's a thing where you're kind of dreaming, but you're kind of not. So basically you think you're awake, but you have no control over your body. And I know what you guys are gonna say. Tyler, you didn't have sleep paralysis. You just fell asleep first, so your friends cut off all your limbs. Not a bad guess, to be honest. But no, that's not what happened. But I also knew it wasn't sleep paralysis either because of two things. Number one, I could feel and move my limbs, which has never happened during a sleep paralysis dream. And two, I would always have super vivid dreams when I was experiencing sleep paralysis. But in this scenario, none of that was happening. Matter of fact, it felt super peaceful. But then my mind started to wake up a little more and question what was going on. I was now awake enough to be like, wait, why am I in pitch blackness and why can I not hear anything? Because as I was waking up, I remembered everything that happened before I went to sleep. And I knew for a fact that I did not fall asleep in a black hole. I was in the living room. So I moved my head around a little bit trying to figure out exactly where I was at. I looked to my left, didn't see anything. Looked to my right, didn't see anything once again. Just complete and utter darkness. So now I started to panic because I don't know why, but the first thing my brain went to in this situation was a video that I remembered watching. And it was this girl saying that her worst fear is to be stuck in a world where there is just nothing. Like you're still fully conscious, but there's nothing around you and you're stuck there forever. I don't know why, but this was like the first thing I thought about when I started to wake up and my heart started pounding because this is terrifying. But then finally, I was awake enough to try standing up. But the moment I tried to, I realized the ground under me was not stable. The bed I was on started shaking really hard and I couldn't find my balance to stand up. So I put my hand down to see what surface the mattress was on, and that was when I felt something wet. My homies peed on me while I was sleeping. No, I'm just kidding. That's not why the ground was wet. I actually don't know why I said that. Although I really didn't want to touch this mystery liquid on the ground again, I knew I probably should to figure out where I'm at. So I did, and that was when I realized it was water. But it wasn't just water on the ground, no. Because when I touched it, I figured out that I was lying on a mattress floating on a body of water. Now I was starting to put some of the pieces together and I figured out that I was on a mattress on the lake outside of my friend's cabin. And I couldn't see anything because, like I said, the cabin was in the middle of nowhere, so there were no city lights or anything around it to make noise. So I just figured this was my friends playing a prank on me and punishing me for falling asleep first. So I scream out, "Hey, someone bring me back to shore!" But no response. So I'm thinking, that's odd. Maybe they just couldn't hear me. So I scream again, but still, no answer. So I just resorted to paddling back on my mattress to the shore, which was probably about a couple hundred feet away. Finally, after maybe 10 minutes of paddling, I got to shore and I walk up to the house and open the back door, but something was off because it was completely silent inside. I start slowly creeping around the house nervously trying to find any one of my friends. And I check 4 out of the 5 rooms, but I can't find any of them. But then I hear a noise that sounds like a bird whistling. Being the logical thinker I am, I figured it was just a serial killer trying to lure me into the room for me to meet my final demise. So what did I do? I followed the noise. And I figured out it was coming from a room that had a door shut. So I go to that room, and after taking a big deep breath, I open the door. And what was inside? All my friends sleeping. There was like 5 rooms, but they all decided to sleep in the same one. But wait, if they're all sleeping, then how did I get into the lake? Well, I turn a light on because I want to see if they have the answer to that question. And they all slowly wake up, and looking like I just got done trying to be the next Michael Phelps, I ask them if they know why I was in the lake. And they all just look at my friend who owned the house and start laughing. I ask why they're all laughing, and that's when they told me that they put me on a mattress and pushed it out into the lake after I fell asleep. So I responded by saying, "What the hell is wrong with you people?" So I asked why they all started looking at my friend who owned the house when they were laughing, and this is when they told me something that made everything make sense. Because remember when I said he was acting all bubbly and giggling even though he's never like that? Well, apparently, the reason he was acting like this is because he saw a movie where someone put their friend on a mattress and let them drift out into the lake, and he thought it was hilarious. So he wanted to recreate it with whoever fell asleep first at the sleepover.
Bro, I might just turn off my computer after hearing that, bro.
This is why you'll never catch me going to another sleepover again. And I'm also an adult now, so I don't get invited to them. But yeah.
Arm & Hammer hardball litter. How hard is it? Crazy hard. No mess scoops.
Hey, you gotta check this out.
Amazing. I'm obsessed with humans on the internet.
It's the virtually indestructible.
A few nights ago, I received the most disturbing phone call of my life. And that may sound dramatic to you, but I promise it's not, because around 1 a.m. on last Thursday, my phone rang. I checked to see who's calling me this late in the night, and what does it say? No caller ID. So at first, I quickly decline it, assuming it's spam and not thinking anything more of it. But about 10 seconds pass, and once again, I get a call. Who's it from? No caller ID once again. So now I'm starting to get curious, because usually if it's a spam call, it won't come this late at night. And they're definitely not going to immediately call you back when you decline. So this time, I decide to answer it. But immediately when I do, the person on the other side is screaming. But not only that, they're also threatening me. They're saying things like,
I'm on my way to your house right now. I'm coming for you. I'm gonna touch you.
No, they didn't say that last part. I'm joking. Don't threaten me with a good time though. Huh? So although they're saying all these threats, none of it is really scaring me because I'm just assuming they have the wrong number. But then they said one thing that changed my whole mood. What'd they say? My name. I knew it was no longer just another normal scam call. So now I'm starting to get worried because this person is calling me in the middle of the night threatening that they're on their way to hurt me, and they somehow knew my name. And if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, okay, maybe it's not a scam call, but it's probably just one of your friends pranking you. And that's why they called you using no caller ID. Or you might be thinking, Tyler, this is just one of the thousands of girls that have a crush on you messing around because they like you. Nah, I know no one was thinking that, don't worry. I'm just joking anyway. Last time I talked to a female my age was when I was still in diapers. So about 2 years ago. But I knew this wasn't the case, that it was just one of my friends prank calling me. Because after I realized the potential danger I was in, I copied the phone number and pasted it into the phone app to see if I recognized it, and I didn't. But still, the next logical thing to think was that it was still someone prank calling me, but they were just using their friend's phone. But that couldn't have been true either, because when I pasted the phone number into the app, I looked up the area code the call was coming from, and that was when I saw it was from New York. Now, although I've been to New York a few times, I don't know anyone there that would do this. So the New York area code ruled out any possibility that this was just a prank call from someone I knew. And listen, I don't know if any of you have ever been to New York, but for those of you who haven't, let me tell you, the people over there are a different breed. You don't want to mess with them. I've been on the subway before, and this girl would literally open the doors while it was moving, flying through the tunnels, and she would just go from cart to cart asking everyone for money. She was 5'0" and weighed about as much as the cinnamon stick from the Applejack cereal box. Yes, somehow, she was able to open those doors like the Hulk. And when she came to ask me for money, I said no because I didn't have any. Like, it was 2024, everyone's broke. So she reacted by doing this to me. Do you have any money? No? Okay. And then she laughed when I reacted by flinching. Yes, I did flinch when a girl that would get swept away if the wind was anything over 8 miles per hour pretended to jump at me. I ain't ashamed of it. Like I said, this girl was the Hulk. If you've ever watched the Avengers or Batman and think it's fictional, no, it's not. That's just New York. So I ain't trying to mess with anyone that's calling me from an area code around there. You ever met someone and they said, don't worry, I don't bite? Yeah. Well, they do in New York. So after they threatened to come to my house and finish screaming at me, I kept trying to ask them questions. But anytime I would try saying anything, they would just start screaming over me again. So eventually, I told them I was just gonna hang up if they kept interrupting me. And that was the one thing that finally got them to stop yapping. Once they calmed down a little bit, I asked them who they were. Their response to that was,
Oh, don't play stupid, Tyler. You know who I am.
and I was like, no, I really don't. That's why I asked the question. But after I gave them that little bit of attitude, they got frustrated because they thought I was messing with them, so they just hung up. Now this gave me two options. Number one, just pretend none of this ever happened and assume that the person calling me knew my name by coincidence. Or number two, do some investigating to figure out exactly who this was that was calling me. And you guys know me. I'm a man. I ain't afraid of whoever this person is. If you want beef with me, it's up. You picked the wrong guy to mess with. So what I do? Choose option one. I was lying about being tough. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm all bark, no bite. Don't get me wrong, I'm not afraid to talk smack online. But the moment it gets real, I'm out. Like when I was 12, I got in a fight with this kid from my school over text. And I told him that when I saw him in class the next day, I was gonna make sure he couldn't walk anymore. Wait, pause.
Hey, yo, what the?
But what I do when the next day came around? I stayed home, told my mom I was sick, and I just didn't show up. So after choosing option 1 of not doing any investigating into who this person is, I went to bed. But just as I finally cleared my mind and stopped thinking about the situation, I heard my phone vibrate once, then twice. So I got up to check it and saw that I was getting a bunch of texts now. And obviously, when you're texting someone, unlike making a call, you can't use no caller ID. So I was able to see the phone number of the person texting me, and it was the same one from the calls. But the next thing that happened is where I knew I couldn't just avoid the situation any longer, and I had to do something. Because he was making me really nervous with the text messages he was sending me. The first ones that he sent me were pretty much the same things as the one he said over the phone. Like he was calling me ugly and stupid. Nothing I haven't already said to myself in the mirror before. So my new theory was that this D1 hater was just a person that knew me from social media, and he somehow got my number, so he was just messing with me. But then the text started to get really disturbing because he was now sending personal information about me. First, he texted me the address of where I live. Then he sent the address of where I used to live, but then he took it even a step further and started saying information about my family. Like he named all my siblings from oldest to youngest, and he somehow knew all their birthdays, and he was just saying this stuff one by one. He was like, Candace 1998, Phineas 2001, Ferb actually, scratch that. Those are characters from a TV show. That's not what he said. But he said my siblings' names and birthdays, and then he also typed out my parents. I really started to get goosebumps because then he was describing really specific things about my family. Like he somehow knew my mom has broken her ankle before. Just weird things like that you wouldn't know unless you were close with me. But like I said, their area code was from New York. And with how threatening some of the things they were saying were, I thought there was no way it could have been someone I knew personally. Don't get me wrong, I know some people that don't like me, but I don't got ops like this. The biggest enemy I have is a lady who works at Walmart because I tried using self-checkout one time to buy a flat screen TV for the price of an Apple, and she caught me. I should have got away with it too. But these are the types of people I have beef with. Not the Joker. So I'm texting this person back trying to figure out who they are, but they're just kind of ignoring everything I say and spamming these wild texts until eventually, to test if this person was actually dangerous or if they were just someone that was messing with me, I texted them saying I was gonna file a police report because of all the threats they were sending me. And I was kind of being like half honest and half bluffing at the same time because I was genuinely thinking about doing it if I thought something bad actually might happen. But I also mostly said it because I wanted to see how they would react. If right there they admitted to it being a prank, I wouldn't be worried anymore. But if my threat didn't scare them, then now I'd start to be really worried. But when I sent that text, you know how they responded? With laughing emojis. Dog, what kind of villain am I texting right now? That was like the creepiest way they could have responded because it showed they did not care about what I just said at all. I don't want to take my chances with someone who's not scared of me filing a police report. So I decided to text my dad asking what to do because parents know the answer to everything. Unless it's about technology, then they're useless. No offense, mom and dad. I don't think they watch my videos anyway. You know what? Let's see if they do actually. Mom, dad, if either of you are watching this video, prove it to me by giving me $100 next time we see each other. Love you guys. So after I told my dad about this, although I could tell he was pretty uneasy about the situation too, he was way more calm than me, and he said to just go spend a night at a friend's house and then we'll deal with it in the morning. So that's what I did. I stopped texting the person for the night, went to someone's house who I knew, and just stayed there. But then morning came around and I was pretty much 100% sure that I was gonna file a police report because I didn't want this to go on any longer until I get another text. So I check it, assuming that it's once again my biggest hater, but to my surprise, it was a different number. I was low-key kind of hoping it was the same person from last night, because I don't really got that many people that want my attention like that, so it was kind of flattering, even if they were threatening me and my family. Every friendship has its struggles, though. But back to this new person texting me. What do they have to do with the whole situation? Well, this new person had the same area code as the person from last night, and prior to this, I couldn't recall ever getting any phone calls or texts from a number with this area code. So the odds of me getting texts from 2 different people with that same area code within 24 hours was basically impossible. I knew they must have known each other. But the text that this new person was sending was a lot different from the person last night because they were being super kind. Their first text said, "Hey, can we talk?" So I responded asking who this is, and they tell me they're related to the person that was contacting me last night. At first, I kind of just thought it was the same person from last night, but they got a new number to contact me. Wouldn't have surprised me based off everything else this person did. They could have told me they were casting spells at this point and I would have believed it. But I still had no idea what their goal was with this whole thing because as far as I knew, they didn't show up to my house the night before like they said they were going. But at the same time, they did not flinch when I said I was gonna file a police report against them. So what could they possibly be trying to achieve with all of this? Well, this new number helped me understand it a little bit more because I told them I did not believe they were a different person from the one that was texting me the night before. So they called me and confirmed it because I could clearly tell the person calling me today was a girl. Well, while the one from yesterday sounded like a guy. But in the call, I asked her how she knew about everything that just happened the night before, and she told me she was this guy's cousin. Also, I told her in the beginning of the phone call that if she was messing with me too, I was gonna put her in the police report. And she understood that, so I kind of trusted whatever she said, because I'd hope you wouldn't be dumb enough to lie or make the situation worse when I'm saying that you're gonna be in the police report too. Then I asked her to explain this whole situation to me, and she did. But out of all the possible reasons for them doing this that I thought of, the real explanation was nothing like I expected. So here it is. Apparently, the person who was threatening me the night before has a brother, and that brother ran away from their family for reasons they wouldn't tell me. But I guess he just did not want to be found by them. So in an effort to find his brother, this stalker did a bunch of research all over social media. Eventually, after looking through a bunch of posts on Instagram that his brother was tagged in, he found my brother's page. They happened to be at the same concert, and my brother tagged him in a photo, I guess, so that led him to my family, which then led him to finding my page. And he saw that I had a decent-sized following, so he decided to contact me. Oh wait, Tyler, this doesn't explain at all why he was threatening you, or how he found information about you and your family. But what his cousin told me is that apparently he suffers from manic episodes. So there will be days where he's just a completely different person and says crazy things because of this. His cousin even sent me screenshots of text messages this guy has sent to her before, saying he knew me personally, and he would literally Photoshop pictures to make it look like he was with me. So when he goes through these manic episodes, he struggles a lot. But how did he know all this information about me and my family that only someone who knew us personally would know? Well, apparently, his dad worked for the government, and I guess he would use his dad's work computer to find information that he wanted to know about people. So that's where he found all this stuff. And the cousin said when he has these manic episodes, he goes crazy looking into all these different people and finding out every single detail about their life. She said we're in no harm and this happens all the time, and he was back to normal now. But just in case, I'm sleeping with nunchucks under my bed from now on.
Hackers sell your passwords, bank details, and private messages. Stop them with McAfee. Secure VPN, AI-powered scam detection, and award-winning antivirus all in one. Plans start at $39.99 for the first year. Visit McAfee.com/online protection. Terms apply.
If you were being bullied to the point where you were scared to show up to school, how far would you go to make it stop? Because I did something I never thought I was capable of when I was in this situation. Let me break down what happened. I was in 4th grade, and this kid in my class would just not leave me alone. He was always roasting me about something, and I know you guys are gonna be like, Tyler, what do you mean? You're so amazing and beautiful. How could someone roast you? Well, back in 4th grade, I was not the best looking person. I had crooked teeth. I didn't know how to talk to people. I was low-key kind of fat too. There was a lot to pick on if you just looked at me. And I knew the exact reason why this guy in my class was being a bully, because we sat at the same table by coincidence. But there was also another person that sat with us. But this wasn't just another normal student. No, it was the girl that the kid who was bullying me had a crush on. So I guess to try and impress her, he would just pick on me all the time, hoping the girl would think it was funny. And I can't even lie, he was pretty funny a lot of the time. Because like I said, I had crooked teeth and I was pretty chubby when I was younger because my diet mostly consisted of Doritos and root beer. It low-key still kind of does. But unfortunately, there was no such thing as Ozempic for 9-year-olds at the time, so I was just stuck being fat. So I don't even blame him for all the times he would bully me. He was probably just scared that I was gonna eat him because I was such a big bag. Now that I think about it, I'm a bigger bully to myself than he was. But anyways, at the time, I despised this man because not only was he making fun of me in front of the girl he liked, but he was doing it in front of the whole class and at times in front of the whole school. Like, I'm not joking when I say that he would do the most diabolical things to me just because he didn't like me. I remember one time, he literally sprayed fart spray on me right when school started. And there was nothing I could do about it, so I just had to walk around school all day smelling like a toilet after eating Taco Bell.
This may be the last ad you see. With Pi Ad Block, visit your favorite websites and watch ads disappear. However, you can also opt to see certain ads and get paid. Just add it to your browser. It takes 2 seconds and start making easy money while entertaining or learning online. It's completely free and hands-off. So go to pi.org, click Add to Chrome, and start earning today.
Since you're already playing games anyway, why not earn some free rewards while you're at it? All you need to do is download Buff.
What the fuck?
What was his reasoning for doing this, you ask? I don't know, he was just a villain. And if you've ever smelt this fart spray before, it's awful. Imagine the worst smelling porta potty you've ever been in. That smells like flowers compared to this spray. He was clever, I'll give him that. I tip my cap to him. But he would do things like this to me all the time at school that made me so embarrassed. So eventually, I was fed up. I knew something needed to change. I knew something big needed to happen. Because I didn't deserve to get bullied like this just because bro was trying to impress the huzz. So one day, I decided to do something about it. You know what I did? I told the teacher that he was bullying me while I was crying, and she forced him to stop. And she told him that if he kept doing it, he would get suspended. But wait, hold on, Tyler. I thought this was gonna be the part where you say you burned his house down like it says in the title. Well, this is where it gets crazy because after the teacher told him to stop harassing me, he listened. She made us switch seats so he couldn't bully me during class anymore. And obviously he didn't want to get suspended, so he left me alone when we were outside of class too. Poor guy had to find a new way to make this girl like him. But after this happened, I didn't think about this guy for years. I thought that was just where our story would end because we went to different high schools and I just completely forgot about him and everything that happened. Until about 1 year ago, when I was talking to one of my old friends that was in this same class I had the bully problem in. And we were talking about the fart spray scenario, so this made me think, what is this guy up to now? Because I was so curious. Like, was he putting fart spray in his college roommate's hair now or what? I really wanted to know because usually how it goes when you get bullied by someone is you look them up about 10 years later and they're living the most amazing life ever. They've got the girl, they're rich, their life is the dream. And they've also probably got a podcast about positivity and mental health. Kind of ironic. By the way, why does everyone have a podcast these days? Some of these clips I see of them are making me lose brain cells. Sorry, I just had to get that point off real quick. Anyways, when I looked up his name, I was fully expecting to see a picture of him in a penthouse somewhere in Miami because he's a crypto billionaire now, or something like that. But to my surprise, that could not have been further from reality because all I did was search his name on Google, and you know what the first thing to pop up was? A GoFundMe page. So I clicked on this GoFundMe to see where it led to, and this was when I found out that his house burned down. And he created the GoFundMe to ask for donations to repair it. I'm not smiling. And to those of you who have been watching my content for a while now, you may recall that when this originally happened, I made a video about it, but I never told the full story about what actually happened because it's 10 times crazier. So let me explain it. First of all, to add some context for those of you who haven't seen the original video I'm talking about, when I first found the GoFundMe page, I made a video talking about it. But in this video, I looked a little too excited about his house burning down, to say the least. If you haven't seen it yet, here it is. I just Googled the name of a kid who used to bully me when I was 12 years old. First thing that pops up, a GoFundMe. His house burned down! I obviously feel so bad for him and his family. So as you can see, I didn't look too upset about this happening. But listen, it's very important that you believe me when I say that I only made this video because the odds of it happening were so insane. So I thought it would just be a funny scenario to share and nothing more. Genuinely, all I was trying to do was make a funny video about the situation. I honestly felt bad for him because it had been like 10 years since he bullied me and we were both just dumb kids at the time, so I had no hard feelings about it. But unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to tell that based off the video. And if you're like, okay, Tyler, stop yapping. Tell me how this actually correlates to you saying you burned his house down. Well, a couple days after I made this video, I got a phone call. I didn't recognize the number at first, so I pressed decline, and I didn't think anything more of it until I got a phone call from the same number the next day. But like I said, I didn't know the number, so once again, I pressed decline. But then, I got a call from the same number for a third day in a row. And if it happens 2 times, who really cares, whatever. But if I get a call from a number 3 days in a row, I'm starting to think something is up. So this time, I answered the call. I pick up the phone, say, hello, and the person on the other end responds with, hi, is this Tyler Vitelli? I tell them yes it is, and they respond back to me saying, hi Tyler, this is Detective Romero with I don't want to say the city, but he was a part of the police department of the city I lived in. So when he said that, my heart started to beat a little faster, and I became real nervous because in my head, I was like, what could a detective with the police department of the city that I live in possibly want to do with me? Like, dog, I barely ever leave the house. And last time I checked, not touching grass is not a crime. I just physically gagged after saying that sentence. But anyways, I was pretty confident that there was nothing I could have done wrong that would warrant a call from a detective. So after he told me who he was, I asked why he was calling, and he said that there was an ongoing investigation. He was the main detective on the case, and he wanted to ask me a couple questions about it. So I go, Okay, what is the investigation about? Then he tells me a name I never thought I would hear again and asked if I knew them, and I did. Who was this name that they asked about? My bully whose house burned down. So I'm still trying to connect all the dots here because the video I made a couple days ago just completely left my brain. Like I said, it was just a funny 5-second video and I didn't think anything more of it. So I was like, I haven't seen this kid in forever. Why am I getting a call from a detective? But I tell the detective, yeah, I kind of do remember him. And they say to me, kinda? It doesn't seem like you just kinda know him. I would say you really know him. So I was like, sure, I guess I know him pretty well, but it's been a long time since I've seen him. He then goes, yeah, that's what I thought. What's up with this guy's mysterious act all of a sudden? Like, I have no idea what's going on, so I'm just waiting for him to get to the point. Before this happened, I had never talked to a detective in real life, so I wasn't sure how the interaction was actually supposed to go. But I was kind of getting the vibe that this guy just saw one too many episodes of Criminal Minds and was like, hey, I'm gonna be a detective. I was genuinely thinking this, and you may say that's stupid, but hey, that's how I chose my career when I was younger. All I had to do was watch Breaking Bad once, and after I finished the whole series, I was like, yeah, that's it. I wanna be a chemistry teacher. You thought I was gonna say the other job in the show, huh? Nah, that's not what I wanted to do. But regardless of how good or bad I thought this detective was at his job, I still knew there was no good reason for me to be getting a call from him. So I had to be on my best behavior. Instead of cooking him for trying to talk like a villainous cartoon character, I just asked him why he was calling me about this guy that I hadn't seen in years. And then he told me that he was a detective on the case involved with my bully's house burning down. And when he said this, I was thinking, oh yeah, now I get it. What a coincidence. I just made a video about this. But then I was like, wait, why would there need to be a detective on this case? My guy was probably just trying to make a flamethrower using his fart spray and a lighter and accidentally caught the whole house on fire. Yes, I am 22 years old and find farts very funny. What's wrong with me? But when I asked why there was a detective on this case, he told me it was believed that the fire didn't just start from natural causes. No, they had reason to believe it started from arson, meaning someone purposely burned his house down. This didn't really surprise me though, because this guy made a lot of villains. You know how bad he treated me, just imagine how bad he treated other people. But when the detective said this, I knew exactly why I was getting a phone call now, and I wasn't laughing anymore. Because this was the moment where I remembered I made a video about this situation a couple days ago. And I showed all you guys the video of me reacting to his house burning down. And let me ask you this question. Did that look like the reaction of someone who was sad about their bully's house burning down? You know what, here, watch it again and tell me if I look guilty. Dog, I'm going to jail! When I watched the video back for the first time after the detective told me what was happening, that was my first thought. Because does that video look like someone who is innocent to you? It sure doesn't to me, and I was the one who made it. Rewatching that video after I learned what happened even almost made me be like, wait, did I burn his house down? I had motive because he bullied me, and I clearly did not have remorse because I was bobbing my head like this when I reacted to it. So I did not think my odds were looking good, because I've seen all the TV shows just like this detective has. If they even have the slightest piece of evidence on you, they're gonna say you're guilty. It don't matter if you actually did it or not. The only thing that matters is what the jury thinks. Because imagine I'm in court and the judge is like, all right, detective, what evidence do you have that Tyler is guilty? Oh, there's a video you want me to see? Okay. Mr. Vitelli, is this you? Allegedly? Guilty. I don't need to see any more evidence. Lock this guy up. No, Judge, wait, can I at least say goodbye to my mom first? No, absolutely not. But you can say hello to your new neighbor, Danny. No, please. That is exactly what I thought was gonna happen with this video being used as evidence. But I knew I wasn't guilty, so I told the detective that if a fire started because of arson, I had nothing to do with it. Then he asked me about the video, and he wanted me to explain why I made it. And based off this guy's voice, I could guess he was probably over the age of 50. And I don't know if you've ever tried explaining a TikTok video to an elderly person, but it's impossible. They simply cannot understand what is going on. Like, have you seen those videos of old people getting tricked by AI?
Fantastic wood carving. This baby deserves our recognition. What an art. It's a gift from God. God bless you, and thank you for sharing of your talent. Thanks be to God. Love you.
Like, you could show your grandma a video of a bunch of cats doing the salsa together, and she would believe it. And no, that is not an exaggeration. I've seen it happen. So I knew my chances of getting him to understand the reasoning behind me making that video were practically zero. But anyways, I still tried to explain it, and after I did so, he didn't ask any more questions about the situation. The only thing he said after this was asking what city I was currently in. So I told him the city, which was the same one I lived in my whole life leading up to that point, and was also the one where the bully lives. Lived, I guess. Sorry, not funny. Detective, I'm innocent. But he just asked me to stay close to the area for the next couple of days in case they needed to talk to me in person. So basically all I'm hearing when he says that is, I'm a suspect now. So I do as they say and don't leave the city because I don't want to look guilty. And like I said, I barely leave my house anyway, so this was pretty easy. Regardless of if I lit that house on fire or not, I wasn't going anywhere. But these next couple of days were super nerve-wracking for me because although I knew I was innocent, it doesn't matter what I know, it just matters what they think. So I was waiting, freaking out the next couple of days, not being able to sleep. But the funny part about this time is I was so paranoid that the detective would try to follow me or just get more information on me. So I tried to look as innocent as possible that week because I reposted a story on my social media of our local fire department and I put the goat emoji on it. As if my stupid social media story was gonna be the turning piece of evidence that would make a jury think I was innocent. Oh, have you seen that video? This guy definitely did it. I mean, I thought so too, but did you see that story he posted with the goat emoji? No guilty person would do that. That was ridiculous. But anyways, about a week passed and I didn't hear anything more about the situation. But I needed to get an update because I was still super anxious because I never got a call from the detective saying that I was free to leave my area now. So I called the number the detective gave me in case there was any information I needed to tell him. And he picked up the phone, so I asked him if there was any new information they had on the case. And he said there was. So with my hand shaking, I asked what that evidence was. And I just accepted that at any moment, a SWAT team was about to break down my door and bust me. But instead, he told me news that made it feel like Christmas because he said a candle started the fire. But that's not all. Apparently the candle that started the fire was in the bathroom of their house. But guess whose bathroom it was? My bullies. Now I'm not one for conspiracies, but I do have to say, it's pretty ironic that after all those days he made me smell like a dirty toilet in school, it was his toilet that ultimately became the reason his house burned down.